So it's been about 42 days since I released a patch for Hexagod. Actually, it's been exactly 42 days because the last time I released a patch was on April 11th, and this was a hotfix patch. Now, I've not been sitting on my thumbs doing nothing. In fact, I've done quite the opposite. I've done a lot of things that I end up putting into the game, coding up, working on, and end up throwing away because they just didn't quite fit. And that's kind of how my process has been in the last 42 days, is just kind of monkeying around with different ideas, taking inspiration from some of my favorite roguelikes of all time, like Slay the Spire, Balatro. I haven't played it, but Ballillionaire seems like an interesting source of inspiration. And then just kind of trying to figure out, I guess, what makes Hexagod fun. Like, I know it's fun to play, but what actually made it fun, and then distilling down all the various systems so that they match that fun. And the result of all of that processing and kind of vision walks and moments of thinking I was ruining everything kind of helped me distill down this idea that Hexagod is a 2X game. Now, I've been a big fan of the 4X genre, mainly playing games like Civilization 6, but also some Paradox games like CK3 or CK2, and Hearts of Iron 4. I've tried out all 4 of the X's, I think, with Hexagod. We have Explore, Exploit, Expand, and Exterminate. And over the past 42 days, I have distilled down the fact that Hexagod is a 2X game with my main focuses being on Explore and Exploit. You're exploring / I could make a reasonable argument that it is also expanding, is placing down hexagon tiles kind of to form really good adjacency bonuses. So the adjacencies are all driven by the same tile type. So grassland next to grassland gives adjacency, and plains next to plains, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So right now, because I have 2 grassland tiles, I have 2 food here and 2 food there. Previously, if you were to start harvesting resources from here, they would start to dwindle. But I thought it was just more interesting to not have a scarcity mechanic, because I want to make this game about exploiting the crap out of the adjacency bonuses, and by building things where all of a sudden you're clicking a button and you're seeing hundreds of resources pop up from the screen. And I think those are the 2 things that I learned the most from the early access, or I guess the first version of the early access of Hexagod, is that it's really fun and satisfying to kind of puzzle out, place down groups of hexagon tiles for those adjacency bonuses. There's this sensation that happens when you find a tile group that perfectly fits, or one that has is purely all of one tile type. It's a really exciting moment, and it's really fun for those moments to happen. Hey, Immerse from the future here. If you want to support the channel any further, the best way to do that is to go check out Hexagod over on Steam, or you could even go and look at my very first game, Chess Survivors, which is at 131 very positive reviews or something like that. So either of those 2 games, purchasing them or wishlisting them, will go to support the channel and make sure that I can keep feeding my cats and myself for the months and hopefully years to come. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. And then the other side of the coin of exploiting, it was really fun to set up combinations where you'd have a farm with like 5 or 6 berry bushes all around it, and then grasslands around those, and you'd be able to click the end turn button and see, like, I don't know, it was just tons of food exploding out of your village and flying up into the UI. That was really fun and enjoyable. But the problem with the exploit mechanic, that was really tedious. You had to move your villagers around manually every turn, and like there was no way to queue up movement. And then at the end of every turn, at the end of every day, the villagers need to eat food. And if they didn't eat food, they die. And so if you forgot about the food mechanic because you were focusing on trying to win the run, all of a sudden you'd lose the run, and it was this weird memory check. And then there was this whole issue that most of the tile improvements were temporary. So if you used all the yields of a berry bush trying to do your like really cool farm exploit, you then have to put a bunch of the berry bushes around again. And so there was this like a moment where I was watching Joe from Indie Game Clinic play the game, and he said, to set this up, you have to click 12 times. You have to select berry bush, place berry bush, click, blah, 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 click, 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 click. And like that sort of degenerate gameplay isn't fun, but it did feel fun for the results. And so it was like this like action heavy thing to have a result happen. And the simple answer ended up being, let's just make resources and stuff like that more plentiful. Let's not make building improvements temporary. Let's instead make them permanent. Let's remove that the villager feeding mechanic, and let's streamline the game to have a little bit different of a vibe. And I did that. I did that a lot, and I took inspiration from a bunch of the roguelikes I have really enjoyed, looking at things from Slay the Spire, Balatro, Billionaire, if I'm saying that last one correctly. But I settled on kind of a Balatro quota score mult system as a extraction of your build. So if you go for a food heavy build and you're trying to get a bunch of score by making food and a bunch of grassland tiles, that's awesome, and it's all going to be abstracted out into this layer of score. And as you go through each of the weeks, the score gets higher, so then you have to scale further and further and further. I'll admit, there's a big portion of my brain that is screaming, you're just making a crappy knockoff of Balatro, and people are going to see it and hate it. But I think what the more logical part of my brain is like, no, we're learning from the simplicity of this. Like, the core mechanics of Balatro or playing a hand are really fun, and then the shell of how it's delivered is simple and gets the job done. And that's what I'm taking inspiration from. Yeah, the score and the multi stuff and creating these really crazy hands and all the jokers and stuff, all that stuff is beautifully and masterfully done in Balatro. And Hexagod, I think, is a perfect example of like a system that kind of can be plugged into there. And I think that's where I've landed, is that I'm plugging the system into there. I'm not 100% sold on it, and that's where I need your help. If you want to go and check out Hexagod, this new version of the game is available over on Steam. If you own the game, you can go and right click on properties and then go down to betas and then grab this beta branch for testing. I'm not gonna promise you there aren't any bugs. There's absolutely balance changes that need to happen, and I need to add a lot more content to the game. But what I do want feedback on is, what do you think of this? Am I achieving my goal of leaning into exploring and exploiting and removing all the stuff that isn't fun? Is there more that I can remove that isn't fun? Is there something that you missed from the original Hexagod that you want me to bring forward into this game? I want to know what you think down in the comments below, or over in Discord or the Steam discussions, or send me a carrier pigeon or something like that. Oh, I'll also be live on Twitch after this video goes live, chatting all about this new rework, playtesting it, coming up with ideas for how I can tutorialize it, and what I need to add in before I release this fully into, I guess, the fourth build of the early access next week. I've been Aramis. I'm excited to get this in your hands. Now we just need to make sure that it is fun and that it is bug-free enough to actually just work, just enough. I've been Aramis. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.